When I was a kid, I used to spend hours looking at guitar books, deciding which guitars I would own when I was older. I had picked the usual suspects such as Les Pauls, Stratocasters, and Telecasters, but I never picked a Fender Mustang. There was just something about that guitar that didn't really interest me. I'm not sure if it was because it was an offset guitar and I wasn't really interested in offset guitars, but it just never really resonated with me. I was reading about Mustangs one day and I saw that someone described the tone as dull, and that made me really not want to try the guitar at all. My perception of the Fender Mustang changed a few years ago when I saw that one of my favorite guitarists, Omar Rodriguez Lopez, was using it for one of his side projects. I was surprised to see him playing a Mustang because I had never seen him ever play a Mustang before with At the Drive-In or the Mars Volta, but I was super intrigued, and obviously I started going down a rabbit hole. When I was going down this Fender Mustang rabbit hole, I realized that a lot of artists that I liked a lot, such as Bia Badoobie and Sloan, were already using the Fender Mustang, and I just had never really paid attention to it. To top it all off, when my band Daryl Saves Lives was recording our single Fall to Pieces, I used our producer's Fender Mustang to record the solo. After that, I knew I needed to find one. I sent one of my guitar collecting friends a listing for a 1966 Fender Mustang on Marketplace. He told me that the price was way too high and that he could get me a 1964 one for cheaper. I was obviously intrigued by my friend's message, but there was one huge issue. He lived in my hometown, which was 2 provinces away from where I was living, and I didn't want to buy a 1964 Fender Mustang blind. I definitely wanted to try it out before I bought it. A few years go by, and finally I planned a trip to go back to my hometown. I reached out to my friend and we made plans to see each other and for me to try out some of his guitars. I asked him if he could please bring that Fender Mustang we were talking about, and he said he wasn't sure if he could because it was actually his friend's guitar and his friend was going to be at the cottage and he didn't think he could get a hold of him. Honestly, I was pretty bummed out. I was super excited to try out a vintage Fender Mustang, but it obviously wasn't meant to be, so I moved on and got ready to see him. We meet up and we have a really great time. We had an amazing visit and I got to try out a lot of great guitars. However, when I arrived, I noticed that there was a guitar in a case that he didn't take out. So immediately I was interested. I try out all the guitars there and honestly nothing really speaks to me, which is okay. I was okay not buying a guitar that day and it was all good, but I wanted to know what was in that case. I asked him what was in the case and he showed me. It was his own 1964 Fender Mustang that he got in the 80s. He had left it in its case for basically 40 years, and it hadn't been played at all. He thought it'd be cool for me to actually get a chance to play a vintage one so that I could buy his friend's guitar. But honestly, I wanted to buy that one. From the moment I held it and the moment I plugged it in, it just had that mojo. Were there some issues? Yeah, but honestly, I could look past all of them because this is what I had been looking for like 3 years. I asked him how much, and he was taken aback. He wasn't planning on selling it. He just wanted me to try it out. But I asked him a few more times and we talked about it and we eventually agreed on a very fair price. After we agreed on a price, we shook hands and it was a done deal. I finally had it. I finally had a vintage Fender Mustang that I've been wanting for years. I texted my friends. I was just so excited and so happy. This guitar really means a lot to me for another reason. This guitar holds a really special place in my heart. I don't usually name guitars, but I named this one Ruth after my Nana. Throughout my entire life, my Nana has been super supportive of my musical journey. She would fly across the country to see me perform one song at a talent show, and she hated flying. This trip was the first time I was going back to my hometown since my grandpa had passed away in 2020, so I felt really weird, and I honestly didn't know if I'd ever get to go back to see my Nana alive, but thankfully I was able to. This Fender Mustang feels like a souvenir to a trip that I didn't think I'd ever get to make. Whenever I play it or look at it, it always brings a smile to my face because I always think of Nana. It's really special to me and I will never ever sell this guitar. But alright, back to the guitar. Since I got this guitar, I have had to put some money into it because it definitely needed some TLC. Once I got home, my first order of business was getting this guitar set up. Since it sat in a case for over 40 years, it really needed some TLC. So my friend Neil set it up and it worked great. After I got this guitar set up, it played really great, but there was one part that I had to get replaced. And unfortunately it was the switches. I really didn't want to replace the switches on this guitar because I wanted to keep as many original parts on the guitar as possible, but it was becoming really costly for me. I had taken the guitar in 3 times to get the switches fixed, and I decided that, you know what, I just need to suck it up and get new ones. Since I got new switches put in on this guitar, I've had no issues with it. I do think I may have to replace the nut eventually because the G string does slide out, but that's honestly okay. Alright, let's talk about why I like this guitar so much. The main reason for me is because of these pickups. The pickups on this guitar sound phenomenal. To me, they do have a bit of a dull characteristic to it, but I really like that about them. They're kind of nondescript. They don't sound like a Tele. They don't sound like a Strat or a Jazzmaster or anything. They're kind of its own thing, and I think it's super cool. With all the different switching options you can do on this guitar as well, you can get a ton of different sounds, like a really nice neck sound, bridge pickup sound, middle position, but also some out of phase sounds. I really love how it sounds, and it's just such a super cool and versatile guitar. Another reason why I like the sound of this guitar is because it handles pedals so well. Because of its quote unquote dull sound, I find that it works really great with pedals and allows me to have a really nice blank canvas when adding textures to my sounds, which I just think is awesome. I really love the neck on this guitar, but not for the reason that you probably think. I find this guitar to be kind of uncomfortable to play because it's so small and I have really big hands. But honestly, I really like that because it forces me to play differently on the guitar. I find that I play less notes and focus on creating a vibe with my notes that I'm playing and not playing a million notes an hour, which is something that I should just do on all my guitars, but I don't because I love playing a million notes an hour. But I really like that this guitar forces me to play differently, and I think it's just super cool. The smaller neck as well allows me to play larger chords that I could on other guitars, which is pretty cool, and just allows for a lot of different sonic textures. Lastly, I just love how this guitar looks. The Olympic white and the red pickguard just looks so cool. And the fact that it's been aged and it has like actual natural relicing and like checking on the finish just gives it a complete vibe that I just love so much. Overall, I just love this guitar so much, and it's just super cool. I feel super lucky to have it in my possession. So let's hear how it sounds. I would describe this guitar as my vibe guitar. I think it's really cool to have a guitar like this in my collection that forces me to play completely different. I find that I play way less notes and that I make each note count way more, something that I should be doing on every one of my guitars and not just this guitar. Let me know in the comments down below which guitar you chased for years and finally got. Or if you have a Fender Mustang, what do you think of it? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I really think we can do it. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Kolji, and I'll see you in the next one.